Prosecutors ask a judge to reconsider the century-long sentence that they sought for the truck driver who killed Coloradans. I think the public deserves an explanation from the elected leaders behind this. It's a new way to rent cars, so new that Denver's rules can't keep up as the cars clog parking. Nice day for outdoor sports or watering trees. Welcome to winter in a dry state. And somebody decided their Christmas tree should come from a city park. Fools to the left of us, illegal loggers to the right. Here you are, stuck in the middle with Next. The 110-year sentence of the runaway truck driver who killed 4 Coloradans could be reconsidered before Christmas. Prosecutors are asking for a hearing Friday or Monday, as Rogelio Aguilera Mederos' case is now getting international attention for the severity of that sentence. Colorado's mandatory minimum sentencing laws required the judge to give him what is essentially a life sentence. Now, Democratic District Attorney Alexis King's office, which decided on the specific charges that resulted in that long sentence, is asking victims' families to weigh in on a reconsideration. Colorado law allows a judge to determine after sentencing if there were unusual or extenuating circumstances that would justify a reduction. A jury decided that Aguilera Mederos' series of poor choices, including passing up a runaway truck ramp, led to the 4 deaths in that crash in 2019. Democratic Governor Jared Polis said today that his office has officially received Aguilera Mederos' clemency application.
Acabamos de recibir la aplicación ayer en la tarde de su abogado y mi equipo legal está revisándola ahora mismo. Cuando tengamos una decisión, lo anunciaremos.
So now we wait to see what changes. Some observations on where we stand with the Aguilera Mederos case, regardless of whether you think that his sentence is too harsh or justified. The Democrats, who have complete control of the state legislature, have the opportunity to make those mandatory minimum sentences a prominent topic in the next session, to educate the public on why they exist, how they work, so the Coloradans can then speak through their elected representatives on whether they think that those sentences are just. Governor Jared Polis will now consider a clemency request during a campaign year. Those two things will be inseparable in the eyes of some, so it's going to be up to the governor to clearly explain the rationale of his decision. And District Attorney Alexis King owes the public in Jefferson County a considerable explanation. Why her team took a case to trial arguing for convictions that would put Aguilera Mederos away for a century, only to then ask the judge to reconsider the sentence after a huge public backlash. And also, whether the DA intends to keep on the prosecutors who celebrated that conviction with an office trophy made out of a truck brake. Outside whatever you believe Aguilera Mederos deserves, all Coloradans deserve a better explanation of how the sentence happened and what elected officials plan to do next. So welcome to winter in Colorado, where our snow shovels sit unused and our pickleball rackets are still cracking. So we asked, and they said there's one type of weather they won't play in, a Houston Street Park. It's the snow that we need right now.
Wet. If the court's wet at all, we don't want to risk getting hurt. So we'll play wet or, probably below 25.
The courts at that park out in southwest Denver were dry. Of course, so were the grass and trees nearby, which is why the city parks department was trucking in water. I'm going to be watering the trees and shrubs at my house again this week. Did it last month as well. Just remember to unhook your hose from the side of your house when you're done, because it will eventually winter around here. Our Marshall Zellinger, more intelligent than I am, actually found a way to get paid to do that yard work while on the clock tonight.
Well, I'm at home now trying to find out I'm afraid to find out if I've watered this appropriately or not, Kyle, and I've learned some tips from our new friends with the Denver Forestry Department and ARVADA Forestry.
It's not quite the sound of a snowblower. It's actually the opposite. Instead of removing snow, the sound you hear is adding water.
Well, we do water throughout the winter, but maybe not quite so extensive as we have this year. Winter's actually a great time to prune trees, so we're not doing as much pruning as we normally would be doing, but we're doing a lot more watering this year.
Ben RICKENBACKER is Denver's forestry operations manager. He's responsible for the 80,000 trees in Denver, many of which need to be hand watered since Mother Nature isn't providing any help.
Randy, he'll be at this park all day. Usually they can get About 100 trees per day, give or take.
What the city is doing, watering new trees and conifers, is something you should be doing at home.
If it shades your entire backyard, you pretty much need to be watering your entire backyard, not just the trunk of the tree.
A good way to check to see if your tree is getting really dry is to check your flexibility of your limbs.
Watering in the city of Arvada is a bit trickier. Because of maintenance at Ralston Reservoir, the city restricted outdoor watering, except for drip irrigation or hand watering.
We put that in place October 15th. We never in a million years imagined we'd be talking almost no water between October 15th and now.
So how much water is enough? 10 gallons for every inch of diameter. What's that mean in time commitment? Arvada Water System Manager Chris KAMPMANN did the conversion for me.
A typical hose irrigation system is going to give you somewhere around that 3 to 5 gallons per minute type of flow rate. So in simple math, we're getting to 150 gallons in a half an hour. We're getting to 300 gallons in an hour.
And if you're impatient, like me, you won't like this. It will take time to know if you gave your trees enough water.
You'll actually see the effects of the drought for years to come. So it's not something you're going to see, you know, April or May when everything leaves out. It might be something you might not see for a couple years down the road.
I definitely don't have a green thumb, but I'm learning some things today. So look at how far your branches go out, and you're going to want to water at least that far. And I'm going to find out if this tree back here, you know, let's get a drum roll going. I'm afraid that, oh, okay, there's some flexibility there, Kyle. I might, oh no. Never mind. I have some watering to do.
You just needed to test it a little bit. You didn't need to Hulk out on it, Marshall. Like it's gonna be fine. Okay, all right. Now give it a clean cut so it doesn't become a source of infection from the tree. I have offered to come to your house and help you with your landscaping. You know that I'm very serious about.
Clearly, I need it now. Yeah.
All right, Marshall Sellinger, thank you so much. As we close out another year of the pandemic in Colorado, you look at the numbers, and I struggle with the pointlessness and the unnecessary loss that we've seen, especially this year. 2021, because more than a quarter of the Coloradans who have died of COVID died after vaccines were widely available. If you're looking for encouragement, you can take it from our still dropping hospitalization numbers, as well as from the more than 1.3 million at-home COVID tests mailed out to Coloradans. Governor mentioned today, as the federal government announces a program to mail out 500 million tests, Colorado will decide whether to keep its own solo program or combine it with the feds. Hey, may I make a recommendation? This is where we typically point you toward journalism that came from one of our competitors, but is worth your time. So the state has a lot of pandemic stimulus money to spend right now, $2.6 billion worth of it. MITZVAH with the Colorado Sun has a great piece on this. Really makes it simple to understand. So you have the state coming into $3.8 billion in federal funds. State legislators will decide where the remaining $2.6 billion goes. You got 4 teams at the Capitol looking at issues like affordable housing, mental health, economic recovery, and higher ed. The Sun article looks at each task force and their funds available, and it makes the complicated budget easy to understand. We'll put a link to that article on the next Facebook page. Parking is so scarce in Denver's Jefferson Park neighborhood that people living there get priority spots, on the days that the Broncos play nearby at Mile High. So when extra cars, lots of extra cars, started filling up the streets, neighbors got curious. It led them to one man running a car share business and using the public streets as his personal parking lot for his fleet. Here's Steve Steger.
You guys are like 3 days too late?
Yeah, we are. Kevin Hessler says it's a relief to see empty spots on his block.
If you got home after like 8 o'clock at night, this street was completely full.
Because for the last few months, this street was full.
There was just like people walking around, like people going back to the airport, people standing on our lawn. I just asked them what app they were using, and they said Turo.
When Hessler dug further, he found a profile for a guy named Ryan on Turo.
Right now, he has 33 active cars.
Hessler started keeping track of license plate numbers tied to the account and comparing them to the Turo page.
I had pictures of all of them. So I was literally just walking through the neighborhood, tracking this on an Excel sheet.
Here's a picture he took one day. He put sticky notes on each Turo vehicle. There were 9 in a row. Turo is a car-sharing app. The idea, if you're not using your car, you can rent it to someone like an Airbnb. Again, this guy was listing 33 cars.
Basically, our whole street was turned into a rental car lot.
Hessler called the city. The city said they couldn't do anything because technically the area is zoned for mixed use.
People agreed with me that it wasn't right that he was doing this, but it wasn't clearly illegal.
Though the city said they would contact Turo. Hessla says he tried too, and it took them a few months to get back to him.
So it's actually a violation of their good neighbor policy.
The policy requires Turo hosts to park their cars on private property, not on a public street. A representative told Hessla they were in contact with Ryan and the cars would be moved. And they were. We're 3 days late after all, but Hessla still wanted you to know.
And so I'm sure this is happening in other parts of the city.
So I talked to the Turo host, Ryan, on the phone this afternoon. He confirmed that Turo had been in touch and that he found a commercial parking lot to park his cars. Again, according to the city's own policy here, because of the zoning in that area, there was technically nothing illegal about any of this. Dottie says they're going to start looking at their policies to see if they need to address this new growing car share business.
And to know whether this is happening, what, you're basically just peeking out your blinds, being like, what are you, some kind of valet, buddy? Like, what's going on?
It's an incredible amount of work because you think about it. They're normal cars. They're everyday cars. There's nothing on them that say Turo. You have to look for the license plate when you're looking for the car. So he basically just had to talk to some folks who were like, yeah, I'm looking for the car. And then start to piece things together, find the host online. Chances are it might be happening near you. You just got to really pay attention.
Interesting. New sharing economy gets ahead of the rules. All right. Thanks, Steve.
It's a Christmas relief effort, a kindness by Coloradans who don't celebrate the holiday, standing in for Coloradans who want the day off. Cutting your own Christmas tree is a Colorado tradition. You don't do it from city parks, though, you absolute fools. A very unfortunate holiday fail. Next.
Conservatives on Aurora City Council have decided to set aside $5 to $6 million for police, not for policing, for bonuses for officers at that department under national scrutiny for a series of brutality cases. The money comes from the American Rescue Plan. Any use of those funds has to be tied back to the pandemic. And conservatives on Aurora Council said it's cool because the pandemic led officers to quit. The minority of progressives on Aurora City Council said that this was actually just political grandstanding. Aurora currently has 720 uniformed officers, 29 recruits in the academy.
It's officially winter, but it certainly doesn't feel or look like it out there. A beautiful start to the day with that gorgeous sunrise and temperatures 20 degrees above our average, sitting in the lower 60s and just shy of that record high of 67. It's quiet tonight here in Colorado. A few clouds drifting in across the far southwestern corner of the state. Another system bearing down on the west coast that eventually will be making it into Colorado just in time for Christmas. Again, a lot of that wet weather staying from the central coast all the way up towards Seattle. Daytime highs back at it again, above average. Temps sitting in the 60s for us. We stay that way Thursday, possibly a quick rain-snow mix early Friday morning with heavy snow up in the mountains on Christmas Eve. We'll cool things off early next week.
Most of the holiday fails we share around here are great for a laugh, but today's is just messed up. Wheat Ridge police say somebody cut down 2 Christmas-looking trees at Anderson Park near 44th and Kipling. The trees are about 10 to 12 feet tall. Whoever cut them took everything but the bottom 3 feet. Police think this happened last Thursday or Friday. They've just got to take out the remnants of the tree. It's not going to survive. Those trees were about 10 years old. Police aren't certain at this point if it was vandalism or somebody who wanted Christmas trees and just didn't know how to function in society. Share your holiday fails with us. Unless you're doing crimes, don't do crimes. And if you do, don't share them with Next. Email your holiday fails to next@9news.com.
It's a Christmas tradition made possible by Colorado's Jewish community.
I hope it helps them realize how fortunate they are. And to appreciate everything that we have.
And there's still time to help them help our neighbors. And an annual tradition that delivers cheer, unless your neighbors hate Next.
Hundreds of Coloradans who get Christmas off from work or volunteering can thank a Jewish neighbor for that. For 26 years, the nonprofit Jewish Colorado has gathered hundreds of volunteers for their Christmas mitzvah project. There's still time to help with this year's effort.
It's really important to me. It really exemplifies the value of Jewish Colorado and the values of just being Jewish and being able to give back and to help others.
The goal is to help relieve workers and volunteers who would rather be with friends and family on Christmas. The volunteer opportunities include food banks, animal shelters, senior centers, Habitat for Humanity. There are 614 volunteers signed up, and they have room for 75 more.
We'd love to fill up the rest of the sites. There's some sites that have room for 10 more, some sites have room for 1 more. So it just depends what you're looking for the day and times. Everything's on the Jewish Colorado website. They can go there to register, and the more the merrier. We'd love to have them.
What a great idea and enduring for decades in our community. We're going to take a holiday-themed trip down memory lane and feature your feedback next. That is the actual song they cue up with their light show in West Greeley. That is so cool. Tony and Aaron put together that display to the next theme. I was kind of bummed for Tony when we changed our theme music back in January, because Tony had gone through the trouble of syncing up his light display to the old next theme. Remember the better music we used to have? But Tony, studying resiliency, asked for the new music, and Tony and Aaron, we are honored. Your neighbors, they may have a different viewpoint on this. In feedback tonight, Randy says, just wanted to give a little shout out to the fly that stole the show. That's right, first day of winter, it's so warm in Colorado, we still have these enormous house flies buzzing around in the next studio. Only thing more distracting than a fly in front of my face would be me attempting to kill it on live television. Raymond suggested that we do encourage people to send in their criminal fails for our holiday fail segment, quote, so Marshall and Steve can bust them and report on it. All right, that's fine. Don't do more crimes, but if you've done crimes and you want to tell us about it next at 9news.com. And Joe says, you're welcome. Come help with the landscaping at my house. That is an offer for next teammates only. I am happy to work on their landscaping. Joe, you are on your own. See you next time.